honourable member from Regina Capel.
Well, common sense Conservatives will axe the tax, build the home, fix the budget, and stop the crime. This NDP Liberal Prime Minister is not worth the cost, and he's going to make everything more expensive on April 1st with another carbon tax hike, and the effects on Canadians are devastating. A new report from GoFundMe says that Canadians started 200,000 online charity drives to help raise money just to cover day-to-day expenses. Instead of forcing Canadians to ask for help from online crowdsourcing campaigns, why doesn't the Prime Minister do the obvious thing? Cancel his carbon tax hike and stop making things more expensive.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, last year was the hottest year on record on the planet. And the Conservative leader and his party continue to deny climate change. Meanwhile, with our carbon rebate, we are putting money back into the pockets of Canadian families. Are they going to vote against $1,200 for Ontario families, $1,800 for Alberta families, $1,200 for Manitoba families? That doesn't sound like common sense to me, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Regina Capel.
We're going to axe the tax and leave the money in Canadians' pockets in the first place. And Canadians aren't fooled by the shell game. They know the rebate doesn't cover all the costs of the carbon tax as manufacturers and producers raise their prices to pay their share of the carbon tax, and all that gets passed on to consumers. But you know, sites like GoFundMe used to be used to help children who lost their parents tragically, and now Canadians are turning to crowdsourcing to help pay their food bills. Officials say that 56,000 campaigns were started just to pay for the cost of food alone. Why doesn't the Prime Minister just axe the tax so prices can come down?
Before the Honourable President of the Treasury Board gets up to respond to that question, I'm going to encourage all members, please, on both sides of the House, to please allow the person who is asking the question to ask it uninterrupted, and allow the person to answer the question uninterrupted. The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, the difference between that side of the House and this side of the House is that we don't deny the existence of climate change, and we want to protect it for generations to come. So I have, again, a question. Are you going to take money away from Canadian families, Mr. Speaker, by voting against $1,200 for Ontario families, $1,800 for Alberta families, $1,200 for Manitoba families? Mr. Speaker, that's taking money away from Canadians by telling them they're not going to have the rebates and voting against. That's not common sense.
I'm going to ask the honourable member from St. Albert's, Edmonton, please. And to all members, it's really important that we do listen to the question. It's hard for the Speaker to understand. I understand perhaps that the President of the Treasury Board was referring to the Speaker. I hope the comments do fall through the Speaker, of course. The honourable member from Thornhill.
After 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, carbon taxes are driving up the cost of food. People are literally turning to dumpsters because they can't afford groceries. A report from the Toronto Star says dumpster diving is a new trend. So here's what you won't read in the Star. Conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. What does the Toronto Star have to write in order for this radical environment minister to show some compassion and stop the 23% April 1st tax hike for all Canadians?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, on this side of the House, we'll continue to fight climate change while putting money back into the pockets of Canadian families. As I mentioned, that means we're going to be providing rebates to Canadians, money back in their pockets, which the Conservatives are going to vote against. So I ask you, Mr. Speaker, through you to the opposition, when are they going to stop cutting supports to Canadians and pay attention to the most vulnerable in this country?
The honourable member from Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, the radical environment minister who couldn't sell his own carbon tax, which the Prime Minister had to rebrand, won't even get up and answer the question. How is he going to rebrand dumpster diving? This is the minister who wants to ban cars, ban roads, ban Canadian energy, ban straws, and ban stoves, and tells Canadians that they have it better. We all know that after 8 years, this tired government and the environment minister are out of control, but will someone over there stand up for struggling Canadians and let him walk back his carbon tax hike like he has to do with everything else?
Order. Order. The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we'll be standing up for Canadians. Every single member on this House is willing to stand on this side, Mr. Speaker. And whilst the Conservative would like to make a story, just look at our records, Mr. Speaker, when it comes. Just look at our record, Mr. Speaker. We have led the industrial revolution in electric cars, Mr. Speaker. We have brought more investment.
Order. I hate to interrupt a member while they have the floor, but it is important for the chair to ask all members to allow members to please have that opportunity. I'll ask, there are some members whose voices carry. They know who they are. I ask them to please keep their voices down so I could allow the honourable member to finish his question with 15 seconds left on the clock. 15 seconds.
Speaker, I'd like to remind Canadians know that on this side of the House, we believe you can fight climate change and have a prosperous future for our children, Mr. Speaker. We brought Stellantis in this country. We brought Volkswagen in this country. We brought Norval in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have created jobs for the next generation, fight climate change, and ensure Canada will lead in the 21st century.